Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on the 19th, of Thursday, 19th of October, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I want to show you a picture here behind my head. This is what people think of. See the picture right behind my head? When we talk about the end of the world, they picture the world blowing to pieces and the entire universe disappearing, and it's the end of all things, and that's it. Boom, bang, gone. That's a misconception. Let me explain to you. For a lot of you guys in my audience, you remember, some of you remember the 1960s, some of you remember the 1950s even. Each was like a timepiece. The 1950s had a certain feel to it. The world was a certain way. And see how I refer to it as the world? That's because we create the world. Thoughts become things. Actions become the system that we create. Humanity creates the world. Humanity creates the system that's in the world. And that's what we refer to as we refer to the world, like the world of his day. Like if a person lived back in the 1800s, that was the world of his day. And that world was created by humanity, by their conceptions, their ideas, by the things that they did, by the way the system was run, and the way people acted and stuff was all controlled by the system. The system is the world. The system that we create is the world we're referring to. At the end, so what is the end of the world? The end of the world is the end of that system that we create in the world, not the end of the literal planet. It's not what you see behind my head, the planet blowing to pieces, and it's the end of the world, the end of the planet. That's not it. That's not what we're referring to by the end of the world. What we're referring to is the system that we created for ourselves, undergoing such rapid changes, so that after a very short period of time, during the end world, we've entered into something that's almost unrecognizable. And you can see a mini version of this by what happened with COVID. The world before COVID entered onto the scene, before 2020, back in 2017, 2018, that world's gone. That was the end of the world. We're already living in a new world. That was the end of that world, the world we knew before COVID. Now we've entered into a post-COVID world, or what they call a new normal, which is really not normal at all. But referring to the end of the world prophecies and things like that, what we're talking about is something even bigger than COVID, bigger changes that come even more rapidly. So what happens after the end of the world? Well, a lot of people are still going to be alive. And what they're going to do is they're going to structure a new system, a new world. Because humanity creates the world. They're going to create new morals, new I don't know what it's going to be like exactly, but it's all going to be a new structure, new leaders, new rules, new laws, new everything. That's a new world that they've created. And it's created by thought. And so all the people out in the world out there are going to decide what they want for this new structure or new system or new world that they create. And we're always in the business of creating a new world for ourselves. The 70s was so much different than the year, say, 2010 or past the year 2000. And the 80s were different from the 70s. It's always in a state of flux or change, but that change is slow. This is going to be a rapid change, probably brought on by two factors coming together simultaneously. One's war, and the other one is finance. The finance, I've never seen, this has been a over the past 40 years, this has been like a beta test or something. They're trying. It's like they're trying a giant monetary experiment around the world that we know is going to fail in calamity, and that failure in calamity is coinciding with the war and with wars. It's all coming together at the same time. And so this end of the world that we're talking about is actually going to be a restructuring of mankind's system on the world. That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be a quite literal end of the world where everyone's going to die. No, it's a restructuring, a very rapid restructuring that's going to occur very soon because these two forces are coming together right now. You can see them coming together for a train wreck, a collision. The forces of war and the forces of a malfeasant financial system that has been structured as a Ponzi scheme, all collapsing at the same time, leading to something new. And so if you're frightened to change, that's what you really, the thing is not so much frightened of everyone's going to die like behind my head and the end of the world. No, it's not going to be that way. Not everybody's going to die. It's going to be change. So if you're able to, if you're flexible and able to accept these changes, and they might be good changes, might not be bad. It might be things that we like or make things easier. Especially in when we talk about technology, massive changes in technology, massive changes in medicine, massive changes in the way we produce energy. We're moving into a more advanced civilization right before your eyes, and we're going through this restructuring dead ahead. But this restructuring is never easy, and this restructuring, you got to prepare for it, or if you want to make it through it, because it could be pretty darn rough. Quite seriously, you could actually starve to death during this period of rapid change, and before we get to the other side of the change. Okay, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and thank you for listening. Let's move on and take a look here. Jim Rickards says the world's falling apart. So what world is he actually referring to? The real planet, like the picture there with all the cracks in it and the whole thing? No, it's not falling apart. The planet's not falling apart. Again, it's a system, and he referred to it as the world is falling apart. Our system on the world is falling apart right now. Mankind's system that they've structured and created. So the world, as we know it, is going through this rapid change that I was talking about. What does he say here? He says, he talks about conflicts, interconnectedness, weighs a risk of escalation, linkage of war in all of this. He talks about Ukraine, Israel and Hamas, Turkey, Syria, Turkey, and the United States. And he talks about what investors should do to follow a few simple rules. One of the things he says here is to diversify your portfolio during this period in time. He says remain nimble. Situations can change quickly. On the path to war, you should increase allocations in cash and hard assets and own some defense and energy stocks. That's it. We're on the verge of this. Massive, massive changes in the world. It's going to restructure. And I believe personally that we're going to go through a period where, in the very worst of this restructuring of the world order, brought about by war and a dissolving, melting financial system, At the very worst of it, I think we're going to experience shutdowns. And how big these shutdowns are, and when I'm talking about a shutdown, I'm talking about power grid down, everything down, nothing working. How big these shutdowns will be, I'm not exactly sure. They might be very widespread. It could actually, in a worst case scenario, be everyone in the entire world sitting in the dark. But if we get away easy, it's just going to be regional areas that grid goes down maybe for a week or two or a month or whatever. That'll be we get off easy. Now, are you prepared for that? Because I think it could last 4 to 6 months during the worst part of this restructuring of the entire world. And the restructuring's already been going on. Ever since 2020, the world started to change, completely change. And it's already, I mean, it's been a couple years, but it's already it's getting to the point where it's more unrecognizable. But right now we're on the hard side of all this. We're on the side where we're sliding down into the abyss. We're on that side of it during this end of the world. That's what I'll call it. End of the world we know. We're on the part where we're sliding into the abyss. It'll keep falling into the abyss until it hits the lowest spot. And everybody in the world's practically depressed. And then we start climbing back up the other side. Things start to get better. Just like an alcoholic, he get on Skid Row and he just keeps going down. His life keeps going down, down, down. Until one night he's laying there, soaked in his own urine, vomiting his guts out, and he says, this is it. This is the lowest spot. And then he starts to come back up again. And that's what the world's going to do. It's going to keep fracturing. Things are going to keep getting worse and worse until we hit that point where you're on your own for survival. Probably for 4 to 6 months. You're just going to be like, not much help. You got to have food and water, and you got to have shelter during that period in time. Or you ain't going to make it to when things, and then that's the lowest part. Then mankind's going to start to pull itself up out of the gutter, and because we created this system, mankind created the system we're in right now, they can do it all over again. They can restructure and recreate all over again. That's what they will do. And there will be a new normal then. The new normal will be in the new system that they restructure and recreate. And we're in that period of very rapid change right now. We're right in the middle of it. Silver price today. Silver's at $22.63. It's down 18 cents on the day so far. So I figured I'd kind of talk with you guys and give you a better understanding of what the end of the world is. It's not the end of the actual planet. The planet doesn't blow to pieces and we're all dead. That's not it. And a lot of people are frightened of the end of the world because they think that's what it is. No, it's the end of the world that we create. The end of the world that we know. It's the end of that world. And we've already went through a mini version of it. As things were different before COVID. It's already changed that much. Where we could almost sit back and say, hey, that was a different world. So, gold's 1953. Taking a look at cryptocurrency today, we're seeing Bitcoin's rising. 28,674. Ethereum's at 1565. And XRP is at 48.7 cents. Also, one other thing I wanted to say. This end of the world. Generally, with something like that, with tremendous upheaval, everything, all the conventions that we've created for ourselves, all of the social norms, all of our social doctrines, all of our social skills, all of the things that we've our etiquette, everything goes through this rapid period of change as well. And during this destructuring and restructuring, because it's both, it's a destructuring of the old system and a restructuring of the new system. Because of that upheaval, tremendous, tremendous upheaval, a lot of people don't make it during this period. So in a way, it is kind of like the end of the world because it's an upheaval of unprecedented proportions. It's what we have termed, and we've named it now. We've called it an SHTF. That's what we've called it. That's our name for it. The end of the world. SHTF is the same thing because it's it's such a rapid change, bringing to the end of what we have known as our structured system, to that system completely collapsing and not functioning anymore, and then a new structure coming in its place. You just can't turn the system off and not expect, because there's not going to be, if you turn the system off like that, no electricity, no medication, no water, no. And people already in certain places of the world are already starting to experience this restructuring. Take a look at the people in Gaza right now. They got no water, they got no electricity, they got no. The whole world might be that way for a period of time, or like I say, or it might be just regional. Some areas might stay up and running, and other areas might fall down. So you're gonna have to be quick on your feet in all this as well. Anyway, moving on. Getting back to the subject matter today. Taking a look at the Dow Jones, she's down 83 points, down 99 points now. 33,566. Taking a look at oil today, and it's up 41 cents at 88.73. Bonds and rates. The U.S. 10 years at 4.98. It's up 8.6 basis. Oh my gosh, she's almost touching the 5% I was talking about. If she goes over 5%, and I'll tell you what happens. It shuts off all new money coming into the system, practically. Most of it. It's the same thing as like your garden hose and you're trying to wash your car and somebody kinks the hose. That's the money coming through. Comes through a garden hose of money. They're constantly creating new money through the power of fractional reserve banking. And this interest rate gets too high, and it's just like it's a kink in the hose. A little bit of water comes through a kinked hose, but not the full flow. And that's what's going to happen. The hose is going to get kinked here. And what's that going to do? Well, there's not enough money floating around in the system. People are going to start to go bankrupt. You get enough of that going on, then if they react to this and try to do yield curve control, or they try to start pumping money back out there in the system and everything, well, the inflation's already going to roar back with oil prices going up because of this war that's going on and stuff. So this is a mess that can't be fixed. And this is part of what's leading to this restructuring that's called the end of the world as we know it. Because it's such a massive, such a powerful restructuring. Taking a look at the dollar index today is at 106.4. I'm afraid that we're past the point of no return on all this. All this stuff's going to happen pretty soon. The best thing you can do is prepare for it the best you can. Think about these three things that you need. You need to have a warm, dry place to sleep. You need to have food. You need to have water. Perhaps you'll need medicine. That's a wild card. Hopefully you'll stay well through the whole thing. But if you got those three things, a warm place to sleep, a warm, dry place to sleep, food and water, well, there's a good chance if you can maintain those three things right through this restructuring or this end of the world to the other side, if you can maintain those things, good chance you'll make it into this new restructured world on the other side of this. And you might live for a long time in that new restructured world, and you might like it. I mean, there might be a lot of things that are improved. You know, like they're on the verge right now. Really, they're very close to having nuclear fusion to solve the world's energy problems. Extremely close. There might be things like flying cars on the other side. There might be things like maybe they'll have it so that you don't have to have all these visas to travel around the world. Maybe you'll be able to go places and not even have to show a card because they'll have it some sort of a setup where they just maybe scan your eyeball or something. They say, you're free to go, come on in. You know, make things a lot easier because you don't have to carry all these credit cards and all this. They might simplify everything so that there's a lot more, and it might be not near as much crime. Criminals might be weeded right out because the systems that they might have in place with the new technologies they have, you just might not get away with any crime, and so criminals might just give up, might become a thing of the past. There's a lot of things that might be totally different. Automation, factories might mostly have workers that are all robots and stuff. You might have a robot in your house in this new structure. You might have a robot in your house that might do everything for you. Talk to you, be your friend, and everything else. And you might think of him as a member of the family. You know, it might be really uh, medicine. They might have the cure for cancer. You know, they might be able to stop aging to a certain degree and improve your health. And it might be much more organized. And so instead of looking at the bad points in all this and saying, oh, it's going to be horrible, all we're going to be able to do is eat bugs. No, you might have steak. You don't know for sure. It might be great. Much better than what we have now. I'm going to tell you, what we have right now, it can't get a whole lot worse. This is a piece of garbage, what we got right now. So we'll just have to wait and see what it's like. You know, we can theorize all we want. But I mean, it's not going to be that way right away. You know, if you first enter into this newly structured system, it's gonna take building to get things that way. It's going to take a period of time. That restructuring, the initial part of it will probably be 4 to 6 months. That's when we're at the lowest, and then they start to build back something new. It might take several years before whatever new thing that they're building starts to become something nice. You know, I mean, we've survived in this system that's been created over thousands of years, and this restructuring is going to be the biggest restructuring probably that has occurred in the last 6,000 years. Okay, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.